welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. We talk about ideas that connect one to the other. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us, that get us thinking, get us talking, get us doing things, and get us connected. Maybe we're a little bit inspired to do something new because we made the connection. So this week we are on part 2 in discussing the St. Paul Art Crawl, which is a wonderful event where you can go and meet artists all over the St. Paul, over 40 different locations, and it's a great time had by all. It's on April 26th, 27th, 28th. It's a week from today. Friday, it kicks off from 6 to 10. Saturday, it goes from 12 to 8. And Sunday, it goes from 12 to 5. In our first segment here, we're going to be talking to one of the sponsors, the Minnesota State's Arts Board. And it's Sue Jens, who is the executive director. And welcome, Sue.
Good morning, Lori.
So glad that you're here. And you're celebrating. You're celebrating 10 years, I understand.
We are. Well, in fact, Minnesota is celebrating 10 years. In 2008, Minnesota voters approved an amendment to our state constitution that guarantees a certain amount of revenue for outdoor heritage, clean water, parks and trails, and arts and cultural heritage. And we are now in the 10th year. And so this is a year of celebration for us and for all who have been a part of that legacy amendment and have benefited from it.
And you have a show that's going to be part of this, and it opens on April 26th. One of the things that I think is really exciting about your show is it's a celebration of neighborhoods, of community, of art in ways that makes a difference. It builds community, bridges differences. There's a health involved. So tell me about how important our relationship to art is.
Well, our relationship to art is terribly important because it speaks to every person in a slightly different way. Every person can look at the same piece of art and have a completely different reaction. But that in itself is a common experience, that we can all understand something differently. Oftentimes, people ask the question about, well, why is the state of Minnesota investing in the arts? Why are we investing public taxpayer dollars in artists and art programs across the state? And the reason we do it is because the arts are good for us. They do all of the things that you mentioned. They bring people together. They help build bridges. They help. We're seeing more and more research that shows that the arts are important in health and wellness, and the arts have an important economic benefit in the state. So we see community development directors and economic development directors and mayors and city council members across the state thinking about how to use the arts as a more important tool to revitalize communities and neighborhoods and to just create a lot of vibrancy.
I think when people think of arts, sometimes they go to museums and they think of theaters and they think of concerts. But you do more grassroots art, bringing art to life right in a neighborhood.
We do both of those things.
Good.
And that, in fact, is one of the really wonderful things that has happened since the Legacy Amendment was passed. The Arts Board and the 11 regional arts councils with whom we work around the state have always funded artists and arts organizations, so concert halls, theaters, the sort of traditional places that you think about the arts. But because of legacy funds, we now can go broader. So we're now funding activities in senior centers. We're funding things in community centers. We're funding things in shelters. We're funding things in parks and neighborhoods. We're funding festivals. We're funding summer camps. And places, I always say that what the Legacy Amendment has allowed us to do is to keep the arts in traditional places and also bring them out into our daily lives in the community.
And your exhibition celebrates 30 communities. You've got 35 grantees that are going to be showing their art. Would you like to share a little bit about some of those pieces that are going to be on display? I understand one is from Mankato, and that's the Essence of Life project where you've got all sorts of local artists and families. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Sure. So as you mentioned, the exhibition shows grantees of ours from the past 10 years or from one of the regional arts councils. There are 97 pieces of all sorts of different art forms. And the one specifically that you're talking about was a project in Mankato where artists worked with families who had lost a family member or a child and tried to capture the story and then make a piece of art that would celebrate that person. We all know that when we've lost somebody, what's most important is to really honor that person and make sure that they are always remembered. So that was one of the projects that I think speaks well to the idea about health and well-being.
Right.
Some of the other projects that we are showing...
And to that end, I think there might be a healing in the process of doing the art, not only in the recognition and the honoring, but being able to heal through art.
Yes, indeed.
The wounds that are unexpressed.
Indeed. There's another project that comes from Pine County. It's called One Heartland. They do a camp, and it's for young people and young adults who don't fit in. They might have some sort of disability or a disease that they're living with, a chronic situation. Most of the young people who participate in the camp are living below the poverty line. So in most what we would call normal day-to-day situations, they just don't feel like they fit in. This is a camp where they do fit in, where everyone there has had some situation in their life that they've had to deal with. They come together in this camp, and they all have something in common. They're not different. And one of the things that happens there, the project that was funded by one of our regional arts councils, is art as therapy, creative expression as therapy. Sometimes it's very difficult to talk about something that you're going through, but maybe you can write it down in a poem, or maybe you can express it in a song or in a painting. And art therapy can be really powerful when there just really aren't any words, but you can express what you're feeling, you can try to work through it, you can share it with others, and perhaps somebody else will say, I felt that way too.
And discover. Sometimes it's hard to put it into words.
Exactly.
But in seeing a picture, it all comes together, and then it opens up the opportunity to connect with someone else in that sharing.
Yes.
Tell me about some 5-year-olds.
Well, one of the projects that's being featured was from a school called Talahi. It's in St. Cloud. And the artwork that we have on display is by kindergartners. And Talahi is a very diverse school. It has 14 different ethnic communities. And so the project is called Painting Our Friends. And the 5 or 6-year-olds all had the opportunity to paint their classmates. And in the process of doing that, clearly you not only talk about how you look different or how you look the same, but you also learn a little bit more about the person. You learn about their story. And like the theme of this show, it's all about the connection, right? Bringing people together.
We hear about emotional intelligence. I think there's cultural intelligence, that by learning each other's culture, it makes you more skilled in understanding as well as empathy.
Indeed.
And that builds the bridges.
One of the other projects that we're featuring comes from the White Bear Center for the Arts. And in that program, Wing Young Huey, who is a very well-known Twin Cities photographer, and just won a Minnesota Book Award for his book called Chineseness, he explores identity. And identity, as you say, can be cultural. So it's about how we are genetically born and what our history and ancestry is. But it's also about the place that you live, how you are the same or different from other people around you, and ultimately how you define yourself. And so he worked with school students as well on projects about identity.
And tell me a little bit more about Obsidian Arts.
Obsidian Arts did a project about fine arts from artists who are Black or African American. There are fewer opportunities right now for artists from communities of color to find places to show their work and have that work recognized. So it's an exhibition that has been touring the state, primarily in Greater Minnesota, to show work that might not otherwise be shown across the state, and we'll have some of those pieces at the Arts Board.
Now, the exhibition is going to be at the State Arts Board?
It is.
And that's at 400 Sidley Street, Suite 200. So
Yes.
you come into your suite and actually see these various pieces of art and learn about the State Arts Board too.
You do. So our office is the building is called Park Square Court. We're on the north side of the Mears Park, a lovely setting. And do come up to the second floor, find us there. The work will be on display during the art crawl, but it will also be on display through the summer into August. So if somebody cannot be at the art crawl, we'd love to have them stop by during our office hours, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. We're also planning to have some of the work that we're showing in this exhibition on our website. So you'll see some of the images, and you'll be able to read some of these stories about engagement on our website, and that is www.arts.state.mn.us. Or you can Google Minnesota State Arts Board.
And there you'll be. One of the things that you mentioned earlier to me is one of the things that you're proud of is that everything is owned by all Minnesotans, so that there can be a pride of owning our art, our Minnesota art. Mm-hmm. Tell me just a little bit more about that as we head into the next segment.
Sure. There's a great project in this show that I think is an example. The City of Badger did a stained glass mural. The City of Badger has 360 residents. 200 residents were a part of the project. So with publicly funded projects, what we're really interested in is helping everyone see how they benefit, how they can participate, and how art can bring them together and be connected to one another and to their own creativity.
And we encourage you to go to the St. Paul Art Crawl. That's next week. And for more information on that, you can go to stpaulartcrawl.org. And we'll be right back, and we'll be hearing from artists who will be showing their pieces during the art crawl. Thank you so much, Sue, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Lori. It's been a pleasure to be here.
I'm Peter Ratcliffe from the Eastside Freedom Library, and I'd like to tell you about an historic place on Payne Avenue. Brunson's Pub is a place where history and passion are a part of every detail, starting with the menu. The Payne-Phelan neighborhood arose from Dakota people who lived here for hundreds of years, and pioneering immigrant communities, Irish, Swedes, German, and Italians, who made the East Side their home. More recently, waves of new residents from Asia, Latin America, and Africa continue the rich immigrant history and are revitalizing the community's cultural life and economy. Come experience Brunson's Pub at 956 Payne Avenue and grab a discounted gift card when you mention that you're an AM 950 listener or a supporter of the Eastside Freedom Library. Be sure to check out brunsonspub.com.
Tom Hartman here, letting you know how you can save money with All Energy Solar. One of the myths about solar is that it's too expensive and you need lots of money down. The truth? Solar is available for little or no money down. And if you have a great site for solar, you might even save money right away on a monthly basis. So don't wait to switch. You'll see your investment pay off the sooner you switch to All Energy Solar. So start saving today and visit allenergysolar.com.
Hi, this is Ken Hageland, host of Living Healthy and Aging Well, inviting you to listen to our new show airing on Saturdays from noon to 1, where we talk about your health and your life and provide insights to living and aging well. Each week, we provide answers to important questions regarding health care, elder care, end-of-life care, and caregiver support to help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your highest quality of life today. Please join us every Saturday from noon to 1 for Living Healthy and Aging Well.
In 1977, NASA launched the Voyager spacecrafts, satellites sent from Earth to study the farthest reaches of outer space. Aboard these Voyagers were the Golden Records, time capsules filled with images, sounds, and music that tell the story of our world. Astronomer Carl Sagan said, "The launching of these records into the cosmic ocean says something very hopeful about life on this planet. But can we still find that hope? If you could send a message out to the universe today, what would you say?" This April, join Sandbox Theater for the Golden Record Project, an intimate event 42 years in the making. The Golden Record Project is a search for connection, a hopeful call to other worlds, and a declaration that we are here. The Golden Record Project, April 12th through May 4th at the Sandbox. Tickets and information at sandboxtheateronline.com. The Golden Record Project. What would you share?
Radio Show. So glad you joined us today. My name is Lori Fitz. I am your host. And on Connections, we do some really fun things. And today our fun thing is learning about art at the Art Crawl. Our last segment, we had a chance to learn from Sue Jens, who is the executive director for the Minnesota State Arts Board, of an exhibit that they're going to be hosting during the event. And now in our second, third, and fourth segments, we're going to be hosting artists to come talk to us about the art that they do. And I want to introduce them all to you. We have Jill Whitney Burke. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you so much, Lori.
And Jill, you do what I call sassy art. And I'm looking forward to having you share a little bit more about that. Heather Cole will be talking to us this segment about light versus dark and some fun things she does with art.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Stephen, give me your last name again. Go ahead.
Good morning. This is Steve Kistler. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, Steve Kistler. I'm sorry, my grid went off, so I wasn't able to get to your last name. But Stephen does a great job with photography and is newly embracing his art from being a scientist at 3M for many years.
That's correct. But I've done photography all my life, so it's just a rekindle
and coming home. Heather, let's talk about your cool light and dark. Now, audience, I want you to, if you have a chance, go to the stpaulartcrawl.org, and you can see all the cool things that are there. But also check out Heather's website. Heather, why don't you give it to us?
It's designhmc.com.
And you do light fixtures.
Yes. I do lighting, sculptural lighting, and some other types of sculpture out of salvaged products and items. I use a lot of commercial packaging, and my lighting is generally out of milk jug and water jug plastic and some juice bottles. So
there's a sense of sustainable art.
Yes, that's a big part of it.
And environmentally friendly art, because you're not letting things go to waste.
No, I don't like to see things thrown away, and I also see a lot of interesting shapes and patterns in everyday items. So I got sparked on this and put a light bulb in it, and there's my light versus dark.
When you first came to think about doing art and doing light, part of it was necessity. You wanted to have a nice light fixture.
I did. I moved into the Rossmore building, which was condoed in about 2004, and it had been in the past small businesses and a lot of art studios. Some of the people that were artists in the Rossmore actually moved to the Lower Town area when that was getting started as a arts area. Wing Young Huey had his studio in the building, so we also purchased a piece of his from his University Avenue series when we opened our building. And I didn't do any art until I was living there, and I moved in, and we were hosting Art Crawl, and I felt a little guilty because there had been artists in the building, and here we had moved in as condo residents and owners. And I kind of joked around as maybe the spirits of the artists in the building will haunt me. And they have in a very good way. But
they've inspired.
They have. I mean, yes. So moving into the spaces, they were big loft spaces, open. They needed a certain dimension and presence of light fixtures, which I couldn't find. So I thought, well, I've always sewn and made things, so I'll make my own. And came upon some things as I was dumpster diving and got inspired with some ideas.
Because you need a lot of materials to make your art.
Yes, and that was the thing.
If you want to just describe a piece that you have for us here.
Yeah, I brought props because it's radio. So I have a lighting fixture. So it's basically made out of little chips that I've cut out of the milk jug plastic, and I attach it to some sort of base. And
but it has a feathery look. It's almost like a big bird light.
Yes, people think it's feathers from a distance or paper.
Yeah.
But it is just the plain old plastic milk gallon or water gallon jug. And I use different shapes. I've used strips and chips and shingles, and these are triangles, and they make a really like bristly
And you've discovered that the light has different effects using these different pieces.
Yes, and adding the light in really creates that luminary effect. And when I tell people I make stuff out of milk jugs, I can see their eyes going like to the lake where they just shove a milk jug onto the string of lights. Yeah. It's a little bit more involved
Although
in that.
that has a certain charm.
It does, but I think I've taken it to another level. But
yes.
It is definitely something you want to come see.
It's a magical quality that is not completely captured by just seeing a picture. Although the pictures are really nice on your website. Do you want to give your website?
Yeah. I also have a Facebook page with the same name, but it's Design HMC, so DESIGN HMC, and it's .com for the website. And I would really want to encourage people to come to the art crawl. The Rossmore building traditionally was artists. We do have some artists in the building, but we invite guest artists, and we will have over 30 artists in our location this year, which is a very big number for the building. It's a little bit out of the beaten path. It's not quite in Lower Town, but it is definitely worth coming to.
Now, the St. Paul Art Crawl, I want to remind our listeners, is April 26th, 27th, and 28th. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I have a flyer that illustrates some cool art at the Rossmore. We do have one of her beautiful light fixtures being featured, but there's wood boards, there's pottery, there's abstract art.
Right. We've got photographers, painters, jewelers. We really do work hard to get a lot of artists, and sometimes people think it's just a little bit far from Lower Town. I've counted it. It's less than 6,000 steps. You won't even get your 10,000 steps in. And we also have some venues as far as places to eat. If you don't know the Rossmore, it's 500 Robert Street, and it's where Keys Cafe is. So, and some definitely other businesses, but I'm just going to say Keys because she's been there the longest. So,
now you started out helping as a coordinator for the building even before you started doing your art.
Right. When I moved in, one of the artists that had lived in the building kind of as a art fairy, maybe. They weren't really supposed to be living there. Bought a condo, and she was doing art crawl, and so I started helping with that. And then when she got a little bit overwhelmed, because it's very difficult trying to be an artist, possibly working and doing the art crawl coordination. So we love our friends that will be art crawl coordinators even when they're not artists. It's huge asset to have people that are supporters. And so I started doing art crawl coordinating, and my first art crawl, I didn't even want to put my work out because I thought it was a little bit too weird. So I set up a display, and I had these little slips of paper where people could write down what they thought. I had questions like, would you buy this? Do you like it? What do you think it's made out of? And then I crept out after the first night and saw that people were receptive. So by Sunday, I was out there showing off what I was doing, and that was 10 years ago, and I've been doing art crawl since.
Well, I love that the Rossmore is why you do art.
It is.
When a building and the artists can inspire the great work. And it was fun this morning when you came in, a fellow artist is like, oh, you're the one that does the light fixtures.
Yeah, we might be working on a deal.
Well, that's wonderful. So. Well, again, I want to encourage folks to go down to the Art Crawl in St. Paul. To go there, you can first check it out on the website, which is the stpaulartcrawl.org. Also don't worry about having to go too many steps, because you also have the Metro Transit that's giving you a bus pass. So free bus passes, you just need to download it. You again can go to the stpaulartcrawl.org to get that bus pass. Now we'll be right back. We're going to be listening to more artists. We're not done. We've got great more adventures to come. So stay with us after a few short announcements.
In 1977, NASA launched the Voyager spacecrafts, satellites sent from Earth to study the farthest reaches of outer space. Aboard these Voyagers were the Golden Records, time capsules filled with images, sounds, and music that tell the story of our world. Astronomer Carl Sagan said, "The launching of these records into the cosmic ocean says something very hopeful about life on this planet. But can we still find that hope? If you could send a message out to the universe today, what would you say? This April, join Sandbox Theater for the Golden Record Project, an intimate event 42 years in the making. The Golden Record Project is a search for connection, a hopeful call to other worlds, and a declaration that we are here. The Golden Record Project, April 12th through May 4th at the Sandbox. Tickets and information at sandboxtheateronline.com. The Golden Record Project. What would you share?
Art lovers, it's time to celebrate, learn about, and collect local art at the St. Paul Art Crawl, running April 26th to 28th. The Spring St. Paul Art Crawl, presented by the St. Paul Art Collective, is a must-do experience that you will love. Over the weekend, you will have the chance to explore a wide variety of art while touring through local artist studios, lofts, and galleries. Up for purchase will be paintings, photography, pottery, sculpture, fiber arts, and more. The Art Crawl sprawls over 34 locations. Join the Art Crawl and discover outstanding art for your own. And when you buy local art, you're providing to artists so that they may continue to create the art we love. The Metro Transit is supporting the local art community too, with free transit passes. Download your pass to ride buses and light rail for free during the Art Crawl. Be sure to get details at stpaulartcrawl.org. That's stpaulartcrawl.org.
Connections Radio Show is all about tapping into our hardwired hunger to connect. We examine meaningful connections to ourselves, our community, and the world around us. By opening the door to innovative insights by a wide variety of interesting guests, we'll make the connections to something bigger than ourselves. Join me, Lori Fitz, your host of Connections Radio Show, and together we'll make the connections. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
It's the age of artificial intelligence. 85-year-old Marjorie, a jumble of disparate, fading memories, has a handsome new companion, me, a hologram who's been programmed to feed her the story of her life back to her. If given the chance, what would you remember? What would you forget? Jordan Harrison's new play explores the mysteries of human identity and what technology offers. Prime Productions presents the play Marjorie Prime at St. Paul's Park Square Theater. Performances run April 19th to May 19th. For tickets, visit parksquaretheater.org.
With your AM 950 weather, this is Eric Nelson. Today will be sunny with a high near 73. And tonight, increasing clouds with a low around 50. Sunday, a slight chance of rain with a high near 67 and a low around 45. Monday will be rainy with a high of 53 and a low around 39.
EatLocalMinnesota.com's restaurant of the week is Cafe Latte. Cafe Latte is a gourmet cafeteria with an ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soup. Plus, their bakery specializes in fresh breads and desserts. Check them out at the intersection of Victoria and Grand in St. Paul.
Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and I have wonderful artists who are here to talk about the St. Paul Art Crawl, which is April 26th, 27th, and 28th, as well as talk about their art, which is always a great conversation. Our guests today are Jill Whitney Burke. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you so much.
Now, where are you doing your exhibition?
I will be showing at the Schmidt Artist Lofts. And that's right across the street from the new Keg and Case, which is just an amazing food and art and social
extravaganza.
Yeah, it's an amazing space. So if you haven't been over there, you can come and see my art and then pop over to the Keg and Case.
And we have Heather Cole. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing about your cool lighting art and light and dark.
Thank you.
And we have Stefan Kistler. Welcome, Stefan.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, and I'm looking forward to talking with you in the next segment about the East Side Reboot campaign and your photography. But in this segment, we get to talk with Jill Whitney Burke about sassy art.
Yes, definitely sassy.
And you are one of the honorary catalog cover competition winners.
Yes, I am. I was very, very honored to be selected.
And when you pick up one of the event overviews, I'm picking it up, and then for the Facebook viewers can see, there's a map and there's a overview of all the events. You get to see your art, which is Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes, it is. Saint Ruth, I call that one. Yes.
Well, she does have sort of a glow.
She has a halo.
The halo, yes.
She's a goddess, so we have to honor her appropriately.
Your work focuses on girl power and goddesses and saints. Wonderful pieces. They're lively. They create an intrigue of playfulness, but there's also some seriousness to them as well.
Yeah.
Smart Girl series is very cool, looking at the accomplishment of women.
Yep.
But tell me about the saints. These are women that you have elevated into a holy kingdom or queendom. Let's call it a queendom.
Yes. Well, I specialize in mixed media art, so I have many layers of different things, papers and fabrics and paint and inks and lots of vintage photos. So in my Saint series, I've been trying to select women and a couple of men. A couple of men have made it into my Saint series. Mr. Rogers is in, of course, because he's amazing. But I guess my own... I've been kind of taking my own spiritual journey. I was raised kind of conservatively in a kind of conservative spiritual philosophy, and I've just been kind of exploring how you can widen the idea of being a spiritual person. And so I've kind of widened the idea of who can be a saint and why they could be a saint. And so I've got Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I've got Rosa Parks, Mr. Rogers, Audrey Hepburn. I even have Betty Page, for those of you who know Betty Page, Marilyn Monroe, lots and lots of different people that I've elevated to icon status. And it's kind of fun to keep adding to that. I'm going to be adding the Obamas and I think maybe Bob Ross. That would be kind of fun.
I like that.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to expand a little bit too.
Well, looking at sainthood and spirituality, your pieces have both that power, but you make sure there's a vulnerability.
Yeah. I like to explore, especially with women, kind of the past. So there's lots and lots of vintage pictures. I like vintage showgirls. I like vintage housewives. I like
flirty skirty.
I like flirty skirty. Yes, the more you can twirl in a skirt is that's like the joy of life. So I just like that feeling of the vintage woman, but infused with today's power, I guess.
You like old things and new things.
I do.
You're living in a different century.
I am. Yes. I get teased that I'm sort of living somewhere else all the time. My head is somewhere else, but it's a great place to be. I'll tell you that. So
now, some of the pieces as I went through, they have, as you say, the pinup style in some of them.
Yes.
Other of them are with lots of different images. So do you take the saint theme is one thing. Are there other themes that intrigue you?
Yeah, I have another series that's called The Things We Wear, and that takes it'll take like a fashion photo, like a vintage fashion photo or a current fashion photo, and then wherever the clothes are, I take out the clothes and I piece in like a patchwork of different experiences of women. So there might be a picture of a woman in a corset, or there might be a picture of women protesting for women's rights, or sexist things that we've had to face. And so all those make up the clothing of the main image. And it's just exploring, we've had to wear a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's kind of an honor to those who have come before us. And it also encourages us today to keep with the fight and also recognize what women have had to put up with, what they have had to struggle through to get to the place that we are today.
And I like that you take some of what is considered like embroidery being a traditional feminine thing to do, and yet you create it right into the piece of art itself.
Yeah. On my Saint series, they're made out of a thick watercolor paper. And so after I'm done with the basic work that I want to do, then I will embroider words or images or patterns over the top of the mixed media work. And that kind of adds another dimension to it. And I like you said, embroidery is a woman, quote unquote, womanly art from the past that we can appropriate now and, try to do something different with it. So,
how did you decide that you wanted to do mixed media?
Well, I've always been kind of an artist, but not a visual artist. I've been a theater director for 30 years, a performer, a singer, and I did photography in high school and college, but it's just like I couldn't find the thing that was me. I can't draw worth a darn. Like, I just can't do it. So I always thought, oh, Jill, you can't be an artist because you can't draw. But then I found this, and it was about 3 or 4 years ago that I started experimenting with this. And then I took a road trip, and I just listened to the voices inside my head and the spirituality that was all around me, and it said, do it, Jill. Just do it. Don't make any more excuses. Just go for it. And the second I did that, things just started taking off. Like, I knew.
You claimed it.
I did. I decided this is what I want to do, and this is who I am, and this is how I should be. So,
well, now that you mentioned
really
that you
fun.
have a musical background, I think that hits it for me in terms of when I see your piece, it's almost like there's different notes throughout the piece that have come together and that you have created almost a song.
Kind of, yeah. That's a nice way to say it.
Because there's a theme, there's an overarching, but there's like these little verses that you can see in various places.
Yeah, there's lots of hidden things in my work. There's so many layers that some things end up getting lost from the beginning, but they're there. And if you look closely, you'll see lots and lots and lots of hidden little treasures.
Well, I can see the theater eye as well in that it looks like a stage set picture, that this could be on a stage. You could have the curtains open, and there you are, and there you have it.
Yep, it's sort of like blocking. You have to block the scene just right so that it looks balanced and it looks beautiful.
So it's been a learning experience as well as a sharing experience. What feedback have you gotten from folks that buy your art and want your art?
I guess the thing that makes me the happiest is that they can identify with it. It speaks to their hearts. I don't know, it makes them happy.
Yeah.
I mean, my mission in life, my mission statement is to enrich people's lives through the arts, and that can be a lot of different ways. But I hope that if someone buys my piece, it'll just make them happy. It'll speak to them. It'll make them, I don't know, just a more joyful person.
Well, why don't you give your website? Because I know when I went to your website and then I clicked on your gallery, I was just amazed at the variety of playfulness, but I have to say that they all make me smile. They
Good.
Your mission accomplished with me.
Yay! That's what it's all about.
So why don't you give your website for us?
Sure. It's JillWhitneyBirk.com. So it's Jill, WhitneyBirk.com.
And when you go, you'll find Happy Street.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about Happy Street.
Happy Street is the main character in that is a girl who I found, I think, online, a vintage picture of a girl who's walking down the street and she's just flung her head back and she's laughing her head off. And
there's joy, just pure joy.
Yeah, it's just a happy feeling. She's just living her life and having a good time.
And yet at the same time, you've got pinks and blues and teals and all these colors that are just exploding.
Yep.
And then is it a picket fence that?
It's actually of a handmade paper, but it has the appearance of a picket fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you'll see women dancing. You've got glamour girls. You've got old-timey and by the sea women in old swimsuits. And yet there's always one main character.
Usually there is.
That really captures your heart, and you see through their eyes as well as make a connection to how it makes you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that, I want to make sure that folks know that they can come and see your art at the Schmidt. Are you also working with the director-coordinator for your Schmidt with things that are going on there?
Well, I'm a guest artist there. I don't live there, but
There's lots of stuff going on.
There's so many good artists at the Schmidt. I mean, you can't go wrong. You'll see lots at one stop. So it's like the Rossmore. You can just go and be in one place and see tons of us. And please feel free to talk to us. We love talking about our work. Don't be intimidated by artists. We're sort of weird sometimes, but we generally love to talk about our work. And just get us started, and you probably will have to shut us up.
And the Schmidt is a fun place to visit just for the building itself.
It is so historical. There's lots of good spiritual vibe there. Yeah, it's a good mojo.
So next week, I want to see you at the St. Paul Art Crawl. It's April 26th, 27th, 28th. And for more information, you can go to stpaulartcrawl.org. We'll be right back, and we'll be continuing our artistic conversation. So stay with us.
Hey community, this is Cian Thomas from ABC Realty. We represent a diverse team of realtors here at ABC, and we're rooted in your community. We are the only brokerage with an intentional focus on the east side of St. Paul. We specialize in helping first-time homebuyers and people of color to find the home and the neighborhood of their dreams. We have agents who speak Spanish and Hmong, and to keep pace with the ever-changing demographics of the east side, we're adding agents who speak the languages of our communities. We're accessible and we're available for you. Face-to-face and over the phone, we'll help you each step of the way, whether you're buying or selling. We'll discuss the value of home ownership and how it can be leveraged to build your future. We are here for you, ready to put our experts to work for you. So learn more about us here at abcrealtytwincities.com. That's abcrealtytwincities.com.
I'm Connie Bjork, co-host of Awakened Living Infusion radio show. Join Michelle Kitzmiller and I as we focus on all aspects of health, wellness, spirituality, and growth from a mind, body, spirit, emotion perspective. On the Awakened Living radio show, we will discuss stress, self-care, fear, happiness, beliefs, communication, joy, pain, trauma, and more. Join us for the Awakened Living Infusion radio show Saturdays at 10 a.m. Let us share with you ways to infuse vitality into life.
It's the age of artificial intelligence. 85-year-old Marjorie, a jumble of disparate, fading memories, has a handsome new companion, me, a hologram who's been programmed to feed her the story of her life back to her. If given the chance, what would you remember? What would you forget? Jordan Harrison's new play explores the mysteries of human identity and what technology offers. Prime Productions presents the play Marjorie Prime at St. Paul's Park Square Theater. Performances run April 19th to May 19th. For tickets, visit parksquaretheater.org.
The fine folks at Common Good Books will help you find the perfect book for you or the book lover in your life. Find a huge selection from a locally owned and independent bookseller in the Twin Cities. They are always bringing in top authors from around the globe for special in-store events. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sundays, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Find Common Good Books at 38 South Snelling Avenue in St. Paul or shop online at commongoodbooks.com.
If you have a painting project, you should consider hiring Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. We've been awarded nationally for craftsmanship, are highly professional, responsive, and fairly priced. If you feel overwhelmed by starting a painting project, we make it easy from start to finish. We move furniture, vacuum, sweep, dust, and put your home back the way we found it. There is a difference. Our professionalism sets us apart. Visit nickslavik.com. That's nickslavic.com to learn more.
Connections Radio Show is all about tapping into our hardwired hunger to connect. We examine meaningful connections to ourselves, our community, and the world around us. By opening the door to innovative insights by a wide variety of interesting guests, we'll make the connections to something bigger than ourselves. Join me, Lori Fitz, your host of Connections Radio Show, and together we'll make the connections. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show. We've been talking about the St. Paul Art Crawl, one of my favorite things to talk about. Next week, I'm going to be hitting the streets in St. Paul. It's April 26th, 27th, and 28th. And in our segments, we've talked about the St. Paul Art Crawl's various exhibits. The State Arts Board is going to be doing an exhibit of art that they do all over Minnesota, and how proud that we own that art. We support that art. I also have had Jill Whitney Burke in our last segment share about her cool, sassy art. Jill, so nice to have you, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. It's just been a pleasure.
And Heather, love to have you and talk about your milk jug art.
Yes. And there's actually a display. I'm in part of the Easter egg hunt at Rosedale Center, too, with something completely different.
Oh, fun. And I'm so inspired that you had the Rossmore Artisan Building inspire you to get back into your art. You focused that in college, and then you brought it to life through the St. Paul Art Crawl.
Yes, the building did absolutely inspire me.
Stefan Kissler, you are a photographer. You've been doing this all your life, but more recently you've been doing it as your art, as your main focus.
Yeah, I retired a couple of years ago from 3M, and photography always was one of my passions, and now I have kind of the chance and the time to live it out and explore more deeply and develop my own language, so to speak.
You were telling me earlier that you started doing photography more seriously when you were doing a class that asked you to explore a concept.
Well, I've taken a number of classes. This class was a master class that lasted 6 months, and we basically had to show progress on our work every month in a video conference call across the nation. And so the pressure was on to do something real and something serious as opposed to just shooting pictures.
And how were you inspired to do a series?
So I've always enjoyed portrait photography, and I was over on Payne Avenue a couple years ago, some summer, dropping off a dehumidifier, and as I walk into that old appliance store, I see a lady in front of me that looked straight out of a Walker Evans portrait.
Wow.
Walker Evans was the photographer early last century who did some of those famous Depression-era photographs. And Payne Avenue, I don't want to call it Depression area, but it's a very diverse neighborhood. It's a very economically challenged neighborhood, but it's also a neighborhood that's starting to seriously change, including the arts. There's a number of art venues that have and will be popping up. And so I decided to explore Payne Avenue, and I didn't complete, but I made good progress on a series last year that I call it a portrait of a community. Some people call my work street photography. It's not really. It's in-depth portraits of individuals, some of whom happen to be out in the street and many of whom I meet in the street. But then we work together, I get to know them, and I will only take the image once I know really what their story is and what their life situation is. And I hope that my images
capture
capture
that story.
So the idea is to encourage people to look into the face of other people that they may never meet otherwise. It's very interesting to see people looking into somebody's face on a photograph versus for real.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're attracted to faces when babies. That's our lifeblood to be able to grow up, is to have a connection with a face. But I don't think that ever goes away. There's a deep need to look at face.
But still, I've observed it. I did 2 summers ago a project in Minneapolis on people who are signing, not using sign language, but they stand at street corners with signs asking for help.
They don't look at faces.
And it was interesting to see how some of the people who were actually dropping the money into the hand of the person were looking at their steering wheel. They were not looking out the window into the person's eye. And so I think I catch myself as well. You scan immediately people and you kind of categorize who might be of interest to you and who you're uncomfortable with.
Right.
And you tend to avoid the uncomfortable.
Or frightened to make the connection. Because when you do look in, you make a connection. You make some sort of way of being open and perhaps even vulnerable.
Yeah. And so my images seek to encourage people, and it actually helps them look into the eye of individuals that are maybe in a challenged or distressed situation in their life in a
positive way.
In a controlled environment at first, in a positive way. Then they ask questions and then they come out.
You have a picture that you showed me that's at the Eastside Freedom Library.
Yeah, I explored all sorts of venues. Peter runs a great organization over there and a great venue, and I happened to drop in when the Karen ladies were teaching the young teenage girls their ancient textile craft. And there's on the stairwell down, there's actually a wall painting of a scene in the old country with mountains and huts, and people are out spreading their textiles. And I was able to ask this one lady to stand in front of that with her scroll under her arm. And that image really confuses people because it doesn't look like Payne Avenue at all. It looks like a mountain scene and some person. And the other thing that's intriguing about that particular image, you cannot tell at first what's real and what's painted.
Nice.
But it is actually a photograph, and there's no photoshopping in my work. It's all what I see.
During the art crawl, where can people find your art?
I'm showing a few photographs at a venue that we call Art at 967 Payne. It's right at the intersection of Case and Payne in the heart of Old Payne Avenue. There will be a total of 12 artists at that venue, and there will be a few other venues. They're listed in the catalog on Payne and on the east side. There's a total of 6 venues this year on the east side, which we are most happy about.
Well, I have a minute left for each of you to share what's most important to you about bringing people down for the St. Paul Art Crawl. So we'll start with you.
Yes, this is Heather. I really encourage people to come down and see artists in person, and I like to be doing art during Art Crawl and have highlights of projects that I've worked on. So for me, it's about the connection of the artist and the art appreciator and the art buyer. So come on down.
All right. And Jill?
Yeah, just come down because you'll see so many different things, and just the bountifulness of people's creativity is really, really worth it. So come down and see us.
Stefan?
I would say art for the people. Art sometimes tends to be for the art-interested folks, but I think everybody should feel welcome.
And check it out. Check it out at stpaulartcrawl.org, April 26th, 27th, 28th. It's next week. It's a citywide celebration. Go celebrate art.
I want you to